Yeah, we know that. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I hope you are safe. I hope you are doing well, and I hope you are looking forward to enjoying the next little while with Phoebe and I as we explore the wonderful world of leadership. Phoebe, good afternoon, good morning, actually, in your case, and I hope it's sunny in Dubai.
Good morning, Graham, and good morning and good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And yeah, it is a sunny morning. The climate is very well, but also some due to the recent occurrences, we have some minor, uh, you know, uh, uh, anxiety, or what we call the environment of alarms sometimes going through. So, but otherwise, we are all fine with respect to what we are doing. We are doing our normal things, and the country is being taken care of everyone really well. So, I'm very thankful for all the leaders in that process.
I would think that the biggest concern that's affecting people is the word uncertainty and the impact of what uncertainty has on us. And
Yeah.
for everybody in that situation, it's so many people are affected by this at the moment in so many countries. And my dear Dubai is feeling the negative effects of this as well, as other people. And we know that this is a time when leaders kind of got to step up. And I think that we are obviously experiencing some disparity in leadership style at the moment. I'm sure that because of my knowledge of what goes on in Dubai, that the leaders there are doing a wonderful job as they normally do. It's not all the way around. People still need leadership and guidance in this time, don't they? And
Oh,
it's
of course, yeah.
yeah, and we could relate it to it. I don't want to be trivializing the current situation, and not in any way. But some companies, as we know, when there's uncertainty, that's when people feel, what am I going to do? What's happening? What's going on? Should I leave? Should I, what should I do? And uncertainty is a significant factor in workplace um, engagement, and it is certainly a significant factor in the Middle East right now. So I also think what this is tied to is one of our favorite words, and that is values. Leaders living their values. Now, I don't want people to be yelling at their screens or their audio speakers as they're listening to this, throwing things at it and saying, our leaders say something, but they don't do it. And what our leaders doing, we believe this and we believe that. Yeah, I think that there might be some people reacting that way. So, Phoebe, tell me about values.
I think Graham, you always highlight leadership is a relationship, and in some cases, you know that takes a backseat in organizations, and that is where people don't see the values being practiced in the line of work, in what the interactions which they have, and it derails many of the workplace cohesion, workplace collaboration, workplace courage, because you don't see the values being practiced, and that create a vacuum, and um, that is something which I think we have to attend. How can we bring our values aligned? What can we do? What actions, probably as a power holder in the organization? Because we know leadership is a relationship and a set of behaviors which we demonstrate in our day-to-day interactions.
Yeah, values are so important, but what is over that, more than that, is it's not just having a value. It's not just having values, the company values on the website. As I bring that up, I think of so many organizations that write values on the website that they are doing it to appeal, I think, to their customers. And you see what this value is. But what really I feel a little bit better when the companies explain what that value means, rather than just saying, "Oh, one of our values is customer service." Well, what does that mean? You know, sometimes they're just what we used to refer to as motherhood statements. They were just nice words and sentences that help make people feel good about us, but they don't have any real, using that word again, value or sense of trust or sense of or real strength in what the word means, what those values are. It is critically important that leaders live their values. Critically important. There's two aspects that both come out of the first practice of Leadership Challenge, model the way. One is DWYSYWD, do what you say you will do. That's aligned to your values. But it also, when you do that, it absolutely builds credibility with those who are following you. I know of no other behavior that can build solid credibility than doing what you say you will do. That simple, but not always achievable, not always lived behavior, doing what you say will do. And the other one that's aligned to this are their values and living their values. If you don't live your values, that has the opposite effect of doing what you say you will do, which builds credibility. If you don't live your values, it takes it takes away from your credibility. If you're not living your values, talk about your values, explain what those values are, and live the values. And that then solidifies the credibility. Yes, I can trust my manager or my leader. Yes, I know if he says he's going to do something, that's it. Yes, if he says one of his values is caring for people, and I know he does it, great. But if he just has values that aren't relevant but sound good, it's going to take away the credibility, because you've got to live the value. It's not just a fancy word. Oh, yes, this is it. And when I'm doing leadership challenge workshops, it's essential to ask the individual, what are your values? Okay. Now, what do each of those values mean to you? Right? What do they mean to you? Well, yeah, and they sometimes can't give a good answer to it. But what does it mean to you? In other words, how are you living that value? That's important. But let's come to this point that you brought up about the companies and values. Yes, the values might be on the website. Yeah. What is important is aligning, you used that word, aligning the values, aligning the members of the team, the staff, the employees' values to the organization's values. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to change my values just because the company has a particular value that's not one that I have. But we need to understand and try as far as possible to align values. The first important part is that the individual must recognize what his or her values are and be able to talk about their values. That's what's important. They can't work in an organization or an environment effectively if their values are misaligned to the values of that team. I've often said there are certain organizations that I could not work for. And that means I could not present a leadership program for as well. And those companies, I guess it's pertinent to this particular time of conflict, but these are companies that produce munitions and defense equipment. I couldn't work with them. And this is another personal thing as well. I could not work for a company which produces tobacco products, cigarettes. I couldn't do it. That's against my value. I'm not out to stop them doing what they're doing, but my values would not allow me to take money from them to help them become better leaders, producing a product which I fundamentally have objections to. Now, I don't carry a big banner saying don't smoke, but personally, I believe it's not something that should be done. I don't support it. So my values would say I can't work for that company. I can't deliver my services. I'm really sorry. If I go hungry as a result, that's because of the choice that I've made to live my values, that I won't bring them into a company that produces a product which is against my values. So, Fibby, let's have your observations on that.
This actually remind me when you, for example, like as we experience these difficult circumstances, we experience that we are being valued by the way in which the actions are taken by the administration around us in the region. And especially, I'm speaking my experience being in UAE, where informations are shared. We are given guidances on what needs to be done. There is a frequent updates on what is happening around, what kind of precautions people should be taking during that process. And actually, it is actually building credibility with the and the trust with what the government in this region is doing. And so we feel calm, we feel yeah, someone is taking care of all of us. And I like to link it to the modeling the way, the practice of the one of the key practice of the leadership challenge. And what I see in that process is um, the whole population having the deep trust with the people, and the guidance is being given, and also creating a unity within the region on what needs to be taking individual actions in that process. And also it is also inspiring the vision. Okay, this will also pass, and things will be moving into a better territory in that process. And when you touched on the credibility part, I remember one of the program which we done together, and we had that one of the value of the organization, accountability, to be brought in. And the participants had a group exercise in which they should come as a team for a specific activity. And we have seen that on one day the participant didn't join. And in the next session, we have a guidance with them on accountability. What happened with the four of the people who are supposed to come, and how, if accountability as a value has been practiced, how each of them will be checking in to make sure that they are coming together on that day. And that actually realized sometimes, that is where the learning process is required, where sometimes leaders in organization not understand what their actions are, and that is where misalignment of values come in, because in this case no one took the accountability to check in each other and to be present, not communicating with the external party in the process. And we see in that one where how the shared values actually was not practiced, and that was a mirror for them to review. And in the coaching process, you reaffirmed that in order to make sure how essential that is to create that shared accountability as a organizational team members. And this also bring this key point, that values act as a common language.
Yeah, yeah. But it's also about it helps create the environment and the space where people want to come to work, not just because of the pay they're going to get, but they want to come because they know that they're respected and they know that their leader or manager lives his or her values. We know that it's quite easy to look at so many companies referring to the company and their staff as family. We know this, and sometimes they put it on their website and wherever else they can put it. Our family, but do they absolutely live that value as a company? It's all very well to say we treat our staff as a family, one big happy family, yeah, but it's not always the case. And here's one example where it was really borne out, and this is from one of my wonderful experiences in Sudan. I've mentioned before, I've always loved going to Sudan, and I have such issues with what's going on with the people, the wonderful people of Sudan at the moment. But when I talked about this particular value, one of the team members mentioned the company that they were in and said that one of the team members who'd been with the company for some years had developed a particular cancer, and that the only way or the only place where this could be effectively treated, apparently, was Germany. Now, he's in Sudan, he's in a mid-level in the organization, and he had a visit one weekend in the afternoon by a senior partner of that company. And the senior executive, senior partner, knocked on the door, came in and said, I heard you're not well. I just want to come and talk to you and give you my best wishes. And so as they were then talking, and this gentleman was explaining the situation in regard to his health, without in any way expecting anything other than a warm response from the senior executive. And the senior executive then said when he heard that, he may have probably heard this before he arrived, but he heard that the only place for treatment was Germany. And so the senior executive said to him, well, we always talk about our family. We treat our people as family. The company will pay for you and all your expenses to go to Germany to have this treatment, and we hope it is successful for your sake and for the sake of your family. That is treating staff as family. They're saying, you are family, and we are going to look after your health in this way. We will pay everything for you to get your health back. Wow, that is fantastic. It's an unusual example, perhaps. I'm sure people listening to us will be able to identify other examples like this where the senior management of the company demonstrate in real terms the values that they live, and that those values are shared by the people within the organisation. I'm also going to suggest that people listening to us now would also likely share examples where the opposite occurred, where there was no real demonstration of the values that are talked about. And I know that it's a bit of a cliche that sometimes companies have, referring to their staff as family. Your family, but you don't treat them like your family. The family at home get a better result than what your staff do at work because you don't treat them the same way.
I was this actually brought a memory, this came in I think in LinkedIn post or Twitter post. So do you fire your family member? That was one question which
Awesome.
the context was, people say that our organization is like family. Then one of the staff member is asking, "Do you fire your family member?" And so the point is, when it is also, as you mentioned, Graham, like when values play positively and being experienced, I think it also enlists others into the whole process, and also the shared vision of what we are trying to achieve.
Yeah, and we can't underestimate the impact of living your values, talking about your values, and let everyone know what your values are. Now, I don't mean a list of 20 values. That's just crazy. In the Leadership Challenge workshop, as you know, when we're getting to people to understand what their own personal values are, I give them a sheet of 50 named values, 50. And as at the bottom of the page, there's a couple of lines that are blank, And well, they're not blank; they've got a line on them. And this is where I say add another value if it's not on the list. But think of these words and are they as their values, and look at what you think are strong for you. Well, I asked them in the workshop to identify 6 values, and it can take people a while to do this. In the Middle East, when I say identify your values, I say that for locals there are 3 values in the list that's shown that are more often shared by people than others in the list. Now, my statement like that is not always 100% accurate, okay, but the values that are shared more often than not in a group where I've got people from the Middle East, locals, the one of those 3 is respect. Respect. I don't need to explain respect to anyone of the Islamic faith, right? No way. Respect is a critical part of their faith. They are brought up that way, and the value of respect for others is solid. So it's one of the top 3. The other one is family, very strong value in the culture, particularly of the people in the Arab states. I used to joke and say, if ever I said to anyone, "What are you doing on Friday?" it was a stupid question because they're going to be with their family, right? This is important for them. So it's a common value. And the other one was spirituality, faith, which of course is really, really, as we know, really strong. It doesn't mean that every Muslim or every Emirati or Kuwaiti that I talk to is going to have those values. Not at all. But they are predominantly more than with other people. But understanding what your values are, so you've got a list. Oh yes, that is really strong for me. When I'm doing this activity, it can take a little bit of a while when I want you to nominate 6 of those, say, 50 values that are your values. And when they've done that, and we talk about it a little bit, I say, okay, now I want you to determine your top 3. Well, it's actually easier when they're doing that. Oh, good. No. So out of the 6, they've got it to 3 fairly quickly. And this is for some people the first time that they've ever really thought about values. And they then live and understand their behaviors are automatically coming without necessarily prior to this having a handle or a label on their behavior. But they think, I always do this. And this, what I'm doing, is related to honesty. Yeah. Okay. So honesty must be a value for me. Now, is honesty a value for the company? Well, not always. It should be, but not always. But when we talk about I can relate to that because this is what I do. Yeah, that's your behavior is a direct result of your values. We live our values. I haven't got to wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, what values will I live today?" No, they are with you at all times. The issue is the company being clear on their values. That's not always the case. And how the company operates in consistency with the values that they as a company have. And when we align our own values, our personal values, with what's happening with the organization, it's a little bit like looking at a misalignment. And the big example I gave you was me doing the professional work that I do for a cigarette company. Not going to happen. No way. Against my values.
Yeah. And that also actually we do what we value at each moment in our work or in our life, and this conversation is something which we value, so we come take time to do that. And this also just want to share it with our audience, like values are roots of a tree, and deep ones deep ones lift the canopy of vision skyward, so how our values, the deep rooted values, help us in our actions. So that is one. And another one more angle which I just want to bring is, the emotional buy-in comes from the values which we hold.
I really love your analogy, your metaphor of having the values like the roots of a tree. And the more I think about it, I've only heard it about it 30 seconds ago, but in that time, I'm thinking that's a really uh, profound description of values that we have as human beings, because just as the roots of the tree keep the tree stable and help it from being blown away in the wind and help it grow, the same applies to values. Now, if we, because those values absolutely tie in with our behaviors, they absolutely drive our behaviors. We don't think about them. We don't think, oh, because of this decision, it's related to my value of success. No, we don't do that. But it is the way we behave and what we do. And that gives us strength. And when we know and understand what the values that we have, it helps us make decisions. It helps us, it guides us and gives us a lot of strength. You just use that metaphor. I'm loving it. That's really good. Um, and to have that certainty, I know that integrity is one of my strongest values. It's in my top six. Integrity, honesty, absolutely in my top six. And this belief, this honesty, these values relate so much to what I do and how I interact with others. So that's important. That's who I am in many respects. I won't list the other values.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
and Graham, just to add, like in organizations when innovation is considered, and for example, for innovation to happen, people need to have experiments. So I think to have these experiments, um, values provide guardrails so that, for example, what kind of bold innovation can be done, and amid uncertainties which we experience, and this helps to challenge the process, uh, so that it helps in alignment before piloting on what we are going to do in our experimentation process in a workplace context.
well, in the workplace situation that you're talking about and challenging the process, we may say, and I will accept this as a value, and that is risk taking.
Yeah,
Risk taking. So if I see that as a value, I will be more open to challenging the process. If I see innovation as a value, there you go. That's challenged the process.
yeah,
Where and others might conflict and say, stability and certainty is a value, or certainty is a value in my life. Well, I'm not going to change the process because I need certainty in my life. And a lot of people do. Nothing wrong with that. But certainly, as far as leadership, as far as challenge the process goes, I'm always looking for different ways to do even sometimes the simplest things. And that's related to one of the values that I have about not being a risk taker as such, but believing that we should be open to new ways of doing things. So there we go.
yeah. Yeah, and we know the practice enabling others to act. And I just want to also reiterate, like values cultivate trust, turning collaborations into collective power. And it is like, the values are the soil for trust.
But, but it's a big but. You've got to live your values.
Yeah,
You've got
exactly.
to live your values. It's got to be innate. It's got to be part of your daily DNA being exposed to the world by your behaviors. And if you say to people, I'm honest, and I've given examples of this before when people say they're honest, but they'll do things that aren't honest. And you think, no, hang on. No, that's not living your values. You're
Yeah.
contextualizing them a different way. So live your values, but also align them where you can and understand what the company's values are. Because you as an individual and as part of the organization, when you live your values that are aligned to others, that then surpasses whatever might be on the website because you are the representative of the company in all that you're doing. And if your values are strong and you're living those positive values, then and those values are aligned to what the customer wants, what the organization wants in terms of commitment and work, that's great for the company as well. Fibby, I think even though we're living with some uncertainty in your part of the world, what was my part of the world, let's just hope and pray that that sense prevails fairly soon. And my thoughts and prayers always are with the people of not just Dubai and the UAE, but the Middle East. And I really hope that peace and certainty returns to daily life in that part of the world and that everyone gains the benefits of the prosperity that comes and is coming out of all of those Gulf countries particularly. Thank you, Vivi. What are you going to say as we close this discussion off?
Yeah, it was wonderful to have these conversations on values, and I hope in these challenging times from this part of the world, we feel we will be hearing, the sustained spirit through principle-driven actions in the region, which helps to lead to more celebrations where we uplift more people together. And thank you, Graham, for this opportunity and bringing these conversations. And I want our viewers and listeners, what are some of your challenges with values? And in case you like to have a conversation with your team on values, reach out and also spread the word by subscribing and giving your comments.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, my dear friend Phoebe. Be safe, be well, and we will talk again next week. Not inshallah, we are going to talk next week.